So in this video, we're going to continue on with our bracket, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a drawing in FreeCAD. If I'm just 3D printing something, I don't need dimensions. It's just going to be whatever that 3D print is. So I generally don't make a drawing for that. But if I'm going to fabricate it in my workshop, then I will create a drawing. So to do it, I'm just going to show you exactly what we do. We're going to go into the Tech Draw workbench, not to be confused with the draft workbench. So draft, you might think, oh, I'm going to draft a drawing, so I'll use draft. That is not the case. You're going to go into Tech Draw. That's the best place to do it. Once you go into Tech Draw, and I'll just show you the change there. So this is my part design. I go into Tech Draw. Notice all my icons have changed again. And now you have this. So the first one is insert a default page. And that default page is blank. So if I click insert, I have a blank page. And I don't usually do that because I like to have at least some title on there. So when I see what the drawing is, I know what it is, etc. So I'm not going to use that page. I'm just showing you that. So to delete a page out of the model tree, it's like everything else. You just go and highlight it, click delete. That is gone. Then this second one is insert a page using a template. And I'm going to open that. And here are my templates. These came with my download. So here's my download of the Windows version of FreeCAD 1.0, release candidate 2. So there's the path to it. It's under that, data, mod, tech drawer, and then templates. And they should all be there. I've heard some people tell me that they didn't get their templates for some reason. I don't know why. Mine's always worked when I've used it that way. If you need to change it, you can go into the settings and change the template directory and point it to wherever your templates happen to be. And you could always do a search for them. They're SVG files. And if you search for this one, us_letter_landscape.svg, that will, if you find that one, you'll probably find where all the others are on your system. Now, I only use a US letter size printer. So I typically make my drawings US letter size. That way I can print them out, because making a drawing without being able to print it out is not as useful to me. So what I typically do is I scale down my stuff so that I can fit it on there, or I'll do multiple drawings of different angles on different pages. So that's how I get around it, because I don't have an A3 or a larger size plotter or printer. So US letter, landscape, open that. There's my drawing. And you can see the border and everything is in the template. And I can update my information here. It's already got my bracket video as the name of this file. So it already put that in there. And then things like the drawing number, the scale, who drew it, all of that kind of stuff is all editable. So I can go in and edit it. I can change it. So my company name, for instance, if I click on there, company name, I can call it Adventures in Creation. Done. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is to add some views. So we have to select, make sure we have our body selected. That's what we're going to be drawing. And then we're going to insert the view. So this is insert view. Click that. And it immediately puts that view in. Now this piece over here, you can see that the scale is the scale of the page. I want to make that a custom scale. So I'm going to change that. And I'm going to make it a 1:2. So it's going to be half the actual size. And I'm going to apply that. Every time I make a change, I'm going to apply it. Then I can move that view around. I can put it wherever I want on the page. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the bottom view. But by default, the system comes out with first angle projection. I don't like first angle projection. I like third angle projection. So I'm going to change it. You choose what you want to choose. I'm going to hit apply to that. And what it will do is it'll make the top actually the top. And it's going to make the bottom actually the bottom. And if I need the bottom and the top, that's cool. If I don't need the bottom, I can turn it off. So I'm only going to use those two views. And watch, if I move this around now, those views are tied together so you don't get one out of line to the other. And then I might want to have the front view as well. And so it's going to do that with the, I'm clicking on here. So I have the top. This is our first view, the front, and this is the right. And then by changing these up here, I can change which part it considers to be the front. Mine happens to be the right way around. But if you want to change it, you can. If you use this button here, it'll actually go with how your thing is being viewed there. So if I press that, you're going to see it's going to draw it as if it were the same as this. Now, I don't know why you'd ever want to dimension something like that. So this box here conveniently makes the front view the front. And so that's what we're going to do, is it will automatically make the front view the front. And then if I wanted to change it or change the way that it was sitting in there, I can use these buttons to move this thing around and switch it all up. So that's all possible. Now, one thing I recommend is you can move this over like this and like this. You start dimensioning, but then when you apply something, what's going to happen is it's going to move everything back. And when it moves it back, now you got to keep messing around trying to change it. So what I do is I set up my spacing here and probably my X spacing. So that's the distance between here and here. Probably wants to be around 25 millimeters for this one. And my Y spacing probably the same. And then apply. And you'll see that they spread out. And as long as you think that's enough, you can move everything with this front view. You move the front view around. That'll keep them all exactly per this. And then nothing's going to jump around once you start. So if I think I could be, maybe I could have a little bit further to the right there. So I can up that. Apply. And you'll see the view moves over to the right. And then the top one, I can do the same thing. I can say, yeah, maybe 35 for both of them. And say apply. See the top moves up. And then I'm going to move everything with this front to where I want it. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to put a detail view over here as well. So I'm going to say okay to that. I'm happy with those views. And if I zoom in here, you're going to see that we have these dots everywhere. That's just so we can dimension it. They will disappear when we turn off these boxes. And these boxes are just so that we can see what view is where. Again, we're going to turn those off when we're ready to go here. So what you can do, now you have your views in place. You can do all kinds of different details on these things. So one thing you could do, for instance, is you can add a three-dimensional view. If I just say okay to that, you can see now I have a three-dimensional view of my model, which is quite nice to have on a drawing. And then I can also add, if I wanted to, a section. So as long as I pick a view and I tell it where I want to have that section, and I'm going to, this active view, this 3D view, I'm going to delete that for now because it gets in the way. I don't want to mess with it. And you can change the stacking order and put it in the back and all that good stuff. It's easier just to add it last. That's what I do. So now if I select this top view and I select a section, what it's going to do is it's going to give me a sectional view of this, and it's giving me it in this direction. So I want to see the section going that way. So that would be this one. And when I click that one, it's going to change this direction for me. So you see it changed it over here. That's put the direction going that way. And then I can say update my view. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me that section. It just dropped in the wrong spot. So I'm just going to put it over here. So there's my sectional view, and that's the section. And if we zoom in there, you can see there's only this part here that is actually cut in, which is this part, this thickness here is cut in there. So you can see it hatched that, and it's hatched that little piece there. So that's the actual section. But what it allows you to do is I can see the inside then of one of these shapes, if that's what I wanted. Now, this particular model, I don't think a sectional view is very appropriate. I don't really need it, but you can move where your sectional arrows are using the X. If I do that, for instance, and update, you'll see this arrow moved back so I can get my section exactly where I want it to be. So if I move it forward again, so now it's going through there, and you can see it's hatching a much bigger portion because I'm actually coming through this upright. I'm actually coming through up here. So again, in this particular instance, I don't think I need a section, so I'm going to turn that off. And what I do need is I'm going to pop this on here, and I'm going to do a detailed view. And the reason I'm going to do a detailed view is because I want my detailed view of this area here. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to increase the radius. That's about the size of my radius. Going to drag my highlight. Oop. There we go. That's about where I want it. And then I'm going to make my scale factor 1 because I want that to be a larger view. And there's my detail from here. Now, the detail by default is called 1. And I'm going to just go back into it. So I go over here. Everything in the model tree gets added. So each of my views is in the model tree. The projection group is actually in the model tree. So you can see everything over here in the model tree. If I double click on that detail, it's going to let me edit it again. And this detail is referenced as 1. I'm going to change that to be referenced as A. And then I'm going to say OK to that. So that's my detail A. And although it says detail A right there, that's the name of the view. That's not a caption. So I can actually add a caption to this over here, right here. So I can put a caption in there that says detail A if I want to. Now it looks like I've got 2 of those, but let me just show you. If I toggle the frames, the first label is going to disappear. So this is my caption that tells me that that's detail A. So that looks great. And right clicking allows me to toggle the frame. And then that allows me to see these points that I can dimension. Now, once I have my views laid out the way I want them, the easiest thing to do is dimensioning it. And the dimensions actually work very similar to the way dimensions work in the sketcher. So if I just use the insert dimension, it'll automatically figure out what kind of dimension I want. So I want a dimension that goes, let's say, from this point to this point. Then I just drag it up. It does all the same things. Now, if I reach the edge where I can't come up any higher, what I can do, I can either zoom out a little bit and bring it all the way up, or I can drop it, right click off there, and then I can move this around wherever I want to go. So again, we use our fit to the screen. We use that guy. That's going to make sure that I can see where it is. Then I can click on that. I can move it around however I want it to be. So it's very easy to get the dimensions where you want them to be. Then I'm going to do some more dimensions. So I'm just clicking on that dimension, bring that out. And if I'm going to dimension inside like that, I'm going to do this one the same. And it's automatically trying to go in or out depending on what we have. If I do this diameter, for instance, it automatically knows it's a diameter. And so I can put that on there. And we can do things like our overall length from here to here. And of course, we can dimension in this detail view because it knows the scale. So it's going to dimension it correctly based on the scale. Just going to zoom in there. That one. And as I said, I can put that down like this, right click, zoom out a little bit, then I can drag that to wherever I want it to be. And then when you do that, if, for instance, I dimension something on this side, I'll do a line now. I'll do that line. It doesn't make sense to do that line, but I will. It'll automatically level those up as well. So if I do that, now they're side by side and they're automatically snap into each other. So that is another nice thing about how the dimensions lay out. I'm going to get rid of that one because that wasn't one I wanted. And then you can do things like if I wanted to add a center line, I can select this line, hold down Control, select this line, and then here there's add a center line between two lines. If I do that, you can see the center line is in there. It's a little bit short, so I can extend it. I'm going to extend it by 6 millimeters, 7, 8 maybe. There we go. And then I can move it down as well, so it's now sticking way up in the air. So I want to bring it down a little bit. And you can see the line moving down, and that gives me a center line based on those pieces there. So again, another great way I could put two center lines in, dimension between the two, and I'd have my centers there for that piece. Oh, another thing that you can do is you can add an annotation, and that annotation, I'm just going to drag that from there. You can make that annotation be whatever you want it to be. So I could say this one would be scale 1:1, and I can drop that annotation in, and then I can move that annotation up. So that's going to be that one. If I toggle those frames off again, now you can see that scale 1:1 right underneath that note there. So that's another thing that you can do. And then what I often do is with a detail is I'll draw a line between this one and this one. And the way you can do that is with this cool outline. You do have to select a view first. Then you hit the call out line. And then you can say, do you want the start symbol to have a filled arrow? And I can say, no, I don't want a filled arrow. And then I can pick my points. So I'm going to pick a point here. Let's say here. And I'm going to pick a point here. And those are my points. I'm going to just save those points. And I'm going to say OK. Now, something weird happened. Did you see how that went horizontal? That's because somebody in their infinite wisdom made the default to have an auto horizontal. So I am going to change that auto horizontal. So I've selected that line and I'm going to change auto horizontal to false. And then I'm going to go back into that line and I'm going to edit my points. I'm going to take that point, put it up where I actually wanted it, and save my changes and say OK. And now the line will actually stay where I put it. You can also add points and you can add cosmetic lines. The lines have to be within the same view. So this cosmetic line would not have allowed you to do that line that this call out did. So the call outs are different. What else do we have? So there's different features here, like you can do surface finish, you can do hole fits, you can do welding information. Obviously none of those make a whole lot of sense for what we're doing here. So I won't use those here, but again, to create a drawing is very quick, very easy. Obviously, I'd want to put a few more dimensions on here to make it make sense. It's an extremely quick way to be able to do a sketch. Once it's all done, you can add, I'm going to add that view back in. I'll add back in my 3D view. And I can put that where I want it to be. So that's my little view there. Once I'm done with everything, I can just literally, like my views like that. I can turn off the frames. There's my drawing. Then I can literally just print my drawing. Go into print preview. There it is. So you can see my drawing is ready to go. If I hit my printer, it will print, and I'll have a paper copy of that I can take into my workshop and do all the things that I want to do. As far as being able to create the drawing, obviously I'm not going to bore you with doing all the details, but you could dimension everything. It knows the dimensions because it knows what they are in the model. That's the beauty of it, is you don't have to think about what they are. They are what the model is. You can also export this. So I can send it to an SVG. That would give me an SVG of the file. Or I can send it to a DXF of the file too. So that will give me a DXF drawing, which you can import into other CAD systems. Obviously, lots you can do with this. You can choose different sizes of drawing, etc. But for the most part, it's just a matter of building up everything that you want. And you can put as many or as few dimensions on here as you want. When I do it, I generally am only going to dimension the bits that I need. I don't dimension every single radius and every single piece unless it's absolutely necessary. So I'm really looking at, for me, the things that would be important. So hopefully that gives you a good insight into how easy it is to create a drawing. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're trying to make clear drawings and dimensioning the things that you need. But I just wanted to show you how simple it is, how quick it is. Is it perfect? No. But is it good enough? Certainly for doing things in your workshop. Absolutely. And sometimes what I'll do when I'm doing a model and I want to show you how to model something, I might model it, do the drawing, and then use that drawing so that I can see all the dimensions. It's almost quicker than doing a sketch for me by hand. I can just do the drawing like this and then dimension it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hopefully you see how powerful TechDraw is and how good of a tool it is. It's really come a long way, and how it keeps everything very, very simple to be able to do a lot of very complex things. Once again, if you have questions, comments, other things you'd like to see, leave a comment on the video below, or you can join the Patreon. Thanks again for watching. Oh, if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. It's free, doesn't cost you a bean. And also, if you want to join the subreddit for CAD beginners, that's a good place if you have questions or if you just want to look at different stuff in there.